Irish angle. Well, look, I mean, you know, this is a guy that has been a thorn in the side of conservatives for a while, and so there's a little payback going on the conservative end too. Yep. And I think that's part of what we're seeing here too. But I can tell you that
I think while some on the left really liked the fact that he was attacking, kind of mean and out there and aggressive, I don't think he's that popular. You know, it's interesting. You know, when you work with colleagues, you develop goodwill. I don't think he developed that goodwill.
Yeah, I think if you compare him, for instance, to Charlie Rangel, Charlie was in a lot of trouble, but people really liked Charlie, and he was a serious legislator, and therefore he had a base of support, which I don't think Weiner had.
That's an interesting point.
I think it's probably true that there are certain individuals who, when they're elected to Congress, you know, and part of it's ego, and part of it's that they may come in with some experience of the venue, but they come in like a bull in a china shop, and certainly his celebrity status shot up quickly, even by Washington standards. But you know, the mighty fall. He's not even mighty. This is someone who doesn't know how to treat his wife with respect.
You know, we got into this earlier, and it seems this happens a lot in the political world. You know, if you worked anywhere else, police department, fire department, teacher, you'd be fired today. There's a lot of unemployed people out there. Why, in that sense, you know, people are asking, why does he get a pass for acting this way?
George Orwell, you know, power corrupts, and I think there's an arrogance to it. I think, you know, you're in Washington, D.C., the Potomac water. The last time I didn't drink it, but I understand it doesn't taste too good.
Doesn't taste great.
And you get there for a while, and look, this guy wanted to be mayor of New York, and he was even thinking of potentially maybe about the presidency of the United States, so there was an arrogance factor here.
All right, guys, we got a lot more to get to. We'll continue with our Great American Panel. Time to check in with Greta Van Susteren. Greta, I don't know if you've heard me earlier, but I am going to be releasing right here on this program photos of me that I do not want released from the early 1990s.
Does that mean I should stop those Twitter pictures you've been sending us for the last week over here in D.C.?
I never sent you a Twitter picture. That is absolutely
I got so many.
a lie.
Oh, you should hear what the women are saying here in Fox. We got stacks of Twitter pictures that are coming in.
Oh,
anyway.
My gosh. I'm releasing photos of me right here tonight that I find humiliating and embarrassing before this show is over in 18 minutes.
All right, well, at 10 o'clock, we're doing the more recent ones you've been sending us by Twitter. Anyway, Donald Trump joins us tonight. He has some words about the congressman, including psycho is one of them. Andrew Breitbart's here to explain to how this X-rated picture finally got on the Internet, or did get on the Internet. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of Florida, is here because there's a big fight over the national health care. Big event today in court. And we have so much more, including Rick Klein, Janine Pirro. We got a lot of people, but I'll be sending those pictures, or actually posting them between 10 and 11.
And tomorrow night, we have Greta's Twitter pictures that she sent me coming up. But embarrassing pictures of me, I will release tonight on this program in less than 18 minutes. And Greta right after that. More with our Great American Panel straight ahead. And we continue now with our Great American Panel. All right, one of the things Democrats want to get back to is they want to scare the living daylights out of old people, lie about Paul Ryan's plan. And as President Obama said, Paul Ryan's plan would have children with autism, Down syndrome, and old people, quote, fend for themselves, which was not true. Here's Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Listen to what she says about the GOP wanting to drag us back to Jim Crow. Listen to this.
If you go back to the year 2000, when we had an obvious disaster and saw that our voting process needed refinement, and we did that in the America Votes Act and made sure that we could iron out those kinks, now you have the Republicans who want to literally drag us all the way back to Jim Crow laws and literally and very transparently block access to the polls to voters who are more likely to vote for Democratic candidates than Republican candidates. And it's nothing short of that blatant.
All right, they want to drag us, Republicans want to literally drag us back to Jim Crow days. I have a radio ad, Senator, from 1998, Missouri Democratic Party. Like Republicans, black churches are going to burn. Al Gore speaking before a predominantly African-American audience. Republicans don't even want to count you in the census. The James Byrd ad. I find of all the things that happen in campaigns, when rhetoric, and she's the DNC chair, is used like this, it never gets condemned by fellow Democrats. Why?
Well, frankly, because there are some facts to it. Here in my state of Florida, can you believe the legislature has cut in half the number of days that are available for early voting. Half of Floridians now vote before Election Day. That's been cut in half.
How many days before Election Day can people vote?
Today it used to be 14, now it's 7. The second...
How is that returning to Jim Crow days?
Well, I mean, it is suppressing votes in the same way. In my state, we used to have a poll tax, which was a clear method of suppression. Another thing that this legislature has just done is it said that if you change your name, such as you get married, or you move from one county to the other, you can't go, as you have for years, to the voting booth and put your correct name on. You have to cast what's called a provisional ballot,
right.
Which is much more complicated.
I understand that you have on the legitimacy of the issue you can disagree, but they're playing the race card. Right. And playing the race card in this country is sickening to me.
No, I think what should be played is the card of let's encourage people to be involved in our democracy.
But there are a lot of states that don't have any early voting.
Yeah. Well, that's their problem.
But is that racist?
But we have. What I'm saying is, what we had we've retrenched from the level of ability to vote that we used to have just at the last election. And I think that's a very serious assault against democracy, not just against.
But it's not
one
racist.
Group.
That's what she's saying.
It's extremely offensive on every level that she would make that type of analogy. There is just no justification for it, and I think that it's a serious misstep relatively early into her new position. It's surprising to me because she is normally quite articulate, and she usually makes her case very well.
She's been sticking her foot in her mouth a lot lately. She's been making a lot of verbal gaffes.
But this is the
really a swing wide on this one.
Yeah, but this is what, you know, not just the Democrats. Look, the Republicans do it too. It's a
race card.
No, not that one. But the whole issue of demonizing here, and as it relates to what she said, I mean, clearly that's the demonizing, the polarization that's here in American politics. But look, on this Paul Ryan, you mentioned the Paul Ryan budget real quick because it goes to a larger issue. The Republicans need to do a much better job of explaining this situation.
I agree with you.
Look, it's one thing to do the policy. It's another thing to do the PR. They may have the policy right. They need to work on the PR.
All right, guys, good panel tonight. Good luck with you, Book Senator. Appreciate you being here. We appreciate
you very much.
And we're going to release pictures of me from the early 90s that are embarrassing. And if you ever wondered what happens right here on Hannity behind the scenes, well, we're going to show you. We'll take you behind the scenes next. All right, now this is a segment I did not want to air, but frankly, I was outvoted by the people that work on this show. Now, every weeknight, we broadcast our live show from Studio J right here at Fox News Channel in New York, our New York City headquarters, and that goes out to living rooms all across America and the world. But have you ever wondered what goes on behind the cameras? Well, our local affiliate in Atlanta, WAGA, did, and I recently sat down with anchor Russ Spencer to give him and you a behind-the-scenes look. What I don't like is they showed pictures, well, from my earlier days. Take a look. If you didn't leave, I wouldn't have had a chance to go to a wedding.
Sean Hannity and fellow talk show host Neil Bortz go way back.
You'd be in Huntsville still.
I'd still be in Huntsville, right.
I caught the two together on the set of Hannity's TV show in Studio J in New York.
Because you would eliminate the IRS.
Right.
We'd get rid of the income tax.
Right.
Two tax-fighting brothers in arms on and off the air. Bortz even has a pet name for his former rival.
Where did the baby Jesus thing come from?
Yeah, where'd that come from?
Well, from my callers, my listeners, you know, they just thought that he was the second coming. They really did.
But it wasn't always so friendly. When Bortz left WGST for WSB Radio in 1992, Hannity took his place and, for a while, some of his audience.
Diana, thanks for holding again. You're live on News Radio 640 WGST.
Months later, Bortz delivered an on-air message to Hannity as the newcomer prepared for a vacation.
He goes, I want you to know something. I want you to enjoy your week off. Because starting Monday, when you're away, I'm going back to my old time slot, and I'm taking my audience back. And I'm starting 15 minutes earlier. And basically saying you're going to run me out of town.
Well, that was my goal. And I did.
I'm guessing that when you got the job at GST in '92, you thought, man, I've arrived.
I did. I mean, everything sort of came together. I love Atlanta.
Did you picture yourself staying there?
It's interesting because you're asking me a question that very few people ask me. One of my closest friends that I went to school with says, Hannity, you couldn't have written this any better in terms of how blessed I've been. Right. And that's really how I view it, as a blessing that I've been given opportunities.
Sean Hannity's very long day begins at 9 o'clock in the morning with a conference call with the producers of his television show to talk about the big stories of the day. Then it's prep work for his nationally syndicated radio talk show, live from 3 to 6 here in New York City. Then he rushes to the Fox News Channel studios at 7 to prepare for his television show at 9.
He's not nearly the right winger people think he is.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. See, this is the big scam.
We arrived at 7 o'clock to find Hannity sitting in the green room with Bob Beckel, a liberal sparring partner on his show.
Where do you think we'd be today if we hadn't spent that money?
Well, unemployment would be below 8%. We would have naturally gotten out of this. This is one of the most anemic.
You guys are all on acid. Is it he pretends to be a right winger, and he's not a right winger. He's one of the nicest human beings you've ever run. And I'm a liberal.
Now, Bob suggests that some of this is shtick, is it?
No, what Bob is trying to say is that he views all conservatives as not being nice. He said, well, Hannity's the exception.
What do you say to people who say that the conservative argument that taxes are too high and there are too many government services is just ungenerous?
Look, I live in New York, so I pay nearly 40% of my income in federal taxes, 10%, just 9% state income tax. I pay a county income tax. I pay the second highest property taxes in the entire country.
When Fox News boss Roger Ailes tapped Hannity for his TV show in 1996, he had been a fill-in guest host on television just twice before.
He was not good on TV.
He was not good on TV. I have the original tapes.
When he started, he was terrible on TV.
I've asked him. I've actually said, why didn't you fire me? I was so bad. You are not getting a copy of that tape.
This is not get my
Sorry, Sean. It lives forever on YouTube. For his part, Hannity makes no apologies for fawning over the conservative guests he agrees with.
Joining me now with analysis is Ann Coulter. She is tonight unveiling her brand new book.
And eviscerating the liberals he doesn't.
Fox News.
I heard what you said.
I gave you a time on I gave you a time on It's a political show with the top issues, top guests, best information that you can get on television. That is our goal for every show. Nothing short of that is acceptable.
Serious business with a little Nerf football mixed in from time to time.
Who catches the football on a regular basis?
Usually him.
Is that you?
Usually it hits me in the head.
5, 4.
Not surprisingly, Hannity says he would prefer any Republican to the current occupant of the White House, and he doesn't explicitly rule out a political future for himself.
Have you thought about running for office yourself?
I have no plans whatsoever to get into the political arena. If I could do what I'm doing for the rest of my life, stay right here at the Fox News Channel, have the opportunity to speak to people on the radio, have some impact on the political debate, I think I'd be pretty content. That is so hard to watch. That is so hard to watch. But I was outvoted. I hope you enjoyed it. And that is all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. Let not your heart be troubled. The news continues as we throw it to Greta Van Susteren, who's standing by to go on the record. Greta, take it away.